Good afternoon. You're here with Dr. Jennifer Herring and the Worcester Education Collaborative. Elevate Worcester Voices for Educational Equity. Today, we have Superintendent Brian Allen with us to talk about his work within Worcester Public Schools and just getting to know him and his priorities and goals for this year. So, welcome, Brian. Thank you
Jen.
so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Jen.
We're so happy to have you. So, why don't you start off by telling us a little bit about yourself personally and what made you interested in working for Worcester Public Schools?
Great. No, thank you for that question. So I think a lot of people have heard over the last year or so, they're learning that I am a Worcester kid, grew up and attended Worcester Public Schools K through 12 and a proud graduate of South High School. And then continued with my studies here in Worcester at Clark University, then did some graduate work in Boston, but then began working for the city as part of that graduate work and really never left. So this is my 32nd year working for the city. In mostly finance roles up until last year. And then, as Dr. Maneras decided to return back to California, some conversation about kind of fulfilling the work around the strategic plan. And so now superintendent, but lifelong kind of a Worcester kid.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So can you tell us more about your passion for finance and education and how it came to be that you were interested in assuming the role of superintendent?
I think it really boils down to what is the role of central office. And the way I view that is we're really the ones that provide the resources to the schools, right? To support the building principals, and the building principals then support the classroom teachers, because that's where instruction occurs. That happens within the classrooms, right? And so really our job is to provide the necessary resources, whether it's people or time or materials, in order to support our students. And so there's a natural fit between how do you link resources to improvement plans. And so it just kind of dovetails nicely into the work that we're doing.
Awesome. I love that you said that. And thinking about students and resources, I'm wondering if you can share a little bit more about your priorities for this year and what you envision if this year went perfectly and there were no hiccups and no challenges. What would this year look like for you?
Yeah, no, so we've laid out 5 particular goals for the school year. Some of it is around student achievement, right? So we're really working with our school leaders in terms of how do we measure student progress in their achievement? And we're using the STAR test, which is a predictor of MCAS testing to really monitor the students. We're working on supporting collaborative teaming at the school level, really getting teachers together to talk about student work and priorities at the school level. And then we're working on other things like a better and robust communication plan, district and boundary realignments, in a grow your own program where, we've talked for years about we want our teachers to look more like our students. And so we're saying then let's get our current students to be our future teachers. And so those are the 5 big goals the district is working on. And so the ideal world is all of those go perfectly. We have great student growth, in which we're seeing some growth. The teachers are all working together, which we're seeing. And then we're making progress in each of the other 3 areas. And we're seeing that. Nothing's ever perfect, but we're making progress in each of those areas.
Awesome. And if you don't mind sharing, what would you say are some barriers or some challenges you've experienced, maybe not necessarily in your role, but in the state of education today, even with budget cuts that are happening at the federal level? I'm sure you're very close to that work. Can you share some of the things that you've been challenged by this year so far?
So all of our challenges, I think, comes down to mostly resource challenges, right? We are still, even after the phase-in of Student Opportunity Act, an under-resourced community. And what we really want to do is focus on closing opportunity gaps for our students. And it does take resources. Again, it's either people, time, or materials to do that. And we want all of our students to succeed, and it's going to take more resources beyond what we currently have, but we're going to continue advocating to provide resources to communities like Worcester.
Awesome. What would you say is an area that you've experienced the most growth or the most success so far?
Really, if you look at what our strategic plan, 6 key priorities,
Yeah.
the 2 that I talk about out in the community that I've seen the greatest success, like over the last even 3 years, is family and community engagement,
Yep.
right? Really establishing great partnerships with our families and our community partners. And really, our theme this year is vision to action, which means we mean that to take what the work we've done over the last 3 years and really go deeper in that work. We're not trying to do new initiatives. Sometimes when a new superintendent comes on board, people worry about new initiatives and that, stopping what we were doing. And that's not what we're doing. We're staying the course and going deeper in the work. And then the other one that we're most proud of is really the climate and culture that work that has happened at schools, where all students, staff, and families feel a sense of belonging to their school, and that they all have a voice, whether it's a student, a staff member, or parent and community members. Those are the 2 areas that I think we've had the greatest success.
Awesome. And when you think about the parent and family engagement, so Worcester Education Collaborative has the family and community engagement specialist team. And so we work closely together with the district and thinking about creative and strategic ways to collaborate with families. What would you say are some of the concerns or the things that you're hearing bubbling up from the family members of students currently?
Yeah, it's a large district, right? So we have almost 25,000 students, 5,000 staff members and community partners and so forth. And I think really one of those goals is really improving our communication structure. So people don't just rumor of what's happening with local schools. We need to do a better job communicating with families and community partners of how they can get involved. And we really want their voice at the table on all the decisions that we make and how we can partner with folks like WEC and other groups of how we bring people together to hear their voices so we can take that as we're doing the work in the district.
Yeah, awesome. And so I wanted to get your take on literacy. So this month, WEC is celebrating Black History Month, and our theme is literacy as liberation. And so I'm curious, I know you're a finance guy, but you're an educator in my mind. So I'm curious if you could talk about just the importance of literacy and how you envision maybe some out of the box thinking of how the city can kind of get behind this movement of where we want students reading at grade level and literacy as liberation.
Great question, right? So essentially everything we do does come back to supporting our students and literacy. So for them to be successful across the board, we've got to establish that early foundation of literacy. And how I literally just came from a meeting where we were just reviewing some of our Dibble scores, for our younger students in terms of literacy. And so what we saw from beginning of year testing, middle of year testing. So we look at data all the time around literacy. And so that is really kind of the focus of the work. One of the goals, that student achievement goal around START, is on reading literacy as a component of that. And so whatever we can do to support our students, we were just looking also at results from some new tutoring that we put in place for first graders around literacy this year.
Awesome.
And just looking at those results and trying to get that momentum to support the students as they progress through the grades, starting as early as kindergarten, first grade, and then building from there. So literacy is significantly important for all of our students.
Definitely. And I'm wondering also if you could talk a little bit more. I heard you mentioned the Grow Your Own program. Are there any initiatives, or has anyone thought about how to make those connections between literacy improvement outcomes and, kind of using that as an opportunity to kind of foster that educational opportunity for students that are interested in education?
No, great question. So we're literally just launching that this semester with Worcester State University, as part of our early college program. And so what we want, just a little more in detail, they can get up to 12 college credits taking these early college programs and then go into an education field. But what we want to do is allow these students to remain active in the Worcester schools even while they're juniors and seniors in high school, and then when they're in college, and to bring them back and support our students so they get early experience in teaching. And one of the areas that we would want to use them is particularly is around literacy. So that is something that we're developing out. This is just in the infancy of it, but how do we engage our future teachers now, even before they become teachers, and through those career opportunities.
Awesome. So, as I announced at our last episode, we have lots of awesome opportunities to engage with Worcester Education Collaborative. We have Principal for a Day coming up in March, with which Superintendent Allen will be participating in. We have WUSA, Worcester's Stories of Adversity and Healing, talking about how trauma impacts learning. So I'm wondering, for those two events and our events coming up in the fall, WEC wants to focus on putting ourselves in the shoes of our students. And so my question for you is, as a superintendent, what do you think it's like being a student in Worcester Public Schools? You were once
So
a
I
student.
was once. So I know.
Today, in these times, especially post-COVID, because that's the conversation these days. What is it like to be a student in Worcester Public Schools?
So it's a great opportunity to be a student with public schools. I think there are an amazing amount of opportunities we provide our students through each of the grade levels.
Yeah.
I would like to say, if you've seen pictures of me when I'm out in the schools visiting, I usually have a hoodie on and my Air Jordan sneakers on to
Nice.
kind of relate to when, back when I was a student, but just to make that connection to students that, the superintendent doesn't have to be a suit wear person all the time, that we can wear hoodies too. But to be a Worcester Public School student today, amazing opportunities, whether it's career technical opportunities at the high school level, the pathway programs we have for the students, just the amount of athletic programs that we have for students, after school programs that we're working to develop and continue. And then, just a great time to be in Worcester.
Awesome. Well, thank you. So we're going to take a short break. And when we come back, we're going to talk more about the work that's happening in Worcester Public Schools with Superintendent Allen. Tune in.
Hey, this is Ricky Duran, and you're listening to Unity Radio on 97.9 FM, Worcester's Community Connection.
Recreation Worcester is a free year-round program for youth run by the City of Worcester. The program enriches this city's youth in athletics, arts, academics, and social-emotional learning activities. Food is provided for free of charge for all youth participating in the program. Learn more at the Worcester Recreation website, www.worcesterma.gov/recreation-worcester. That's www.worcesterma.gov/recreation-worcester.
Hi, I'm Ernie Floyd, host of the Unity in the Community Show on Unity Radio 97.9. Join me and my guest as we discuss topics on embracing our diverse cultural communities, the music, the arts, and healthy lifestyles. I'm Ernie Floyd, host of the Unity in the Community Show, Wednesdays at 3 p.m. on Unity Radio 97.9, Worcester's Community Connection.
Everyone has a community, a neighborhood, school, kids' teams, where you worship, work out, or any other place or group where you choose to belong. Communities can provide support when you need it, and even when you don't know you do. Like when it comes to preventing underage drinking and other substance use. Community members can be your eyes and ears when you're not with your kids and alert you to signs of potential problems. Learn more at talktheyhearyou.samhsa.gov.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Graham Anderson, also known as Positively Suzanne, host of Black in Business, Thursdays at 5 p.m. on Unity Radio 97.9. Black in Business is a series of conversations with influential members of the Black business community. These entrepreneurs knows what it means to risk everything to create successful businesses and spark positive changes in the community. So join us. Again, I'm Suzanne Graham Anderson, also known as Positively Suzanne, right here on Black in Business, Thursdays at 5 p.m. on Unity Radio 97.9, Worcester's Community Connection.
What's up, Worcester? It's your boy AG, better known as Angelo Gray. And you're listening to Unity Radio 97.9, Worcester's Community Connection.
And we're back. I am your host, Dr. Jennifer Herring with Worcester Education Collaborative, Elevating Worcester. We're here with Superintendent Brian Allen, Superintendent of Worcester Public Schools. We've talked about what has inspired Brian to be our superintendent, and we've talked about all the great things that are happening in the district. So, at this time, I think the best direction to go in is to talk about the budget. So you are the finance guy, you're the guru. So what's going on with our budget? What would you like us to know?
So just last week, we made an initial budget presentation to the school committee following the governor's budget that came out towards the end of January. So this is hot off the presses.
Awesome.
So the budget this year doesn't look that bad. While we do see a small enrollment decline, the entire state is actually seeing an enrollment decline. So nothing out of the ordinary, not something specific to Worcester, but we are seeing a budget growth that should cover our cost increases for next year. So, as we look to, provide different opportunities for students and so forth, we'll be having budget conversations, including the community, over the next couple of months, preparing our budget that will go to the school committee in May. So we have some time. We're working with school and district leaders now on identifying priorities and enrollment shifts and trends and, just overall student needs for next year. So this is the time for people, if they want to be involved in a budget process. There are a number of opportunities, including in the past, we presented a variety of parent groups and the Worcester Equity group as well. So many opportunities for people to connect with us, share their priorities, concerns about next year's budget. But unlike a couple of years ago where we had a significant budget gap, that is not the case going into FY27. So some good news there. Now, in terms of federal funding, there does seem a word coming out of Washington that there is kind of consensus on both sides that will at least keep the current level of federal education funds going through at least the short term. And so we're not expecting any significant impact there. Federal government provides us about $54 million and funds a little over 800 jobs. So that's a significant amount of funding for Worcester. And so that seems to be intact for now.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And so with finance budgets, what about our strategy? We talked about strategic plan briefly earlier. People are wondering what's going on with the strategic plan. How are we doing? How can we be part of the conversation?
Yeah, no, great question, because that was really a lot of the talk from the community in the spring during the transition process, that they wanted to see the work around the strategic plan continue. And so we have 6 key priorities. I talked about kind of 3 of them already, that being family community engagement, climate and culture, and then the acquire and retain a talent through the Grow Your Own program. There's other areas there as well. But we really also focus on equitable resources for our students. And, as part of our budget process, we're working on an equity-based budget process where we can identify needs of students and align resources better for them. Health and wellness of students, particularly around mental health issues and challenges that students may be facing, even these couple of years past COVID, still issues that we need to support students with. And then finally, the around maintaining in safe buildings, and significant investments we've made in upgrading facilities, improving facilities, and making our schools safer, because you need to feel safe to be in an educational setting to learn, right? And so we put significant resources in school safety and in building maintenance. So all of the work that was laid out in the initial strategic plan, we're about halfway through that 5-year plan. We're actually starting to see results across the board in each of those 6 key priorities. So that's kind of exciting time for Worcester as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. So we know that many of our students, after their time in Worcester Public Schools, go on to higher education. And I saw some exciting things in the news regarding your partnership with some folks in the higher ed space. So I was wondering if you didn't mind sharing with us today.
Sure. So we have great partnerships with all of our higher ed partners in the city. I'll start with, I think Worcester Public Schools sends the most students to both QCC and Worcester State, right? So we have very strong affiliations with them because most of our graduates are going to them. But we recently announced a partnership with Assumption College where they are providing significantly enhanced scholarship opportunities for any Worcester Public School graduate. And so that is making the cost of private education very affordable for many of our students. They're providing opportunities for our teachers to expand, or actually our staff, I shouldn't say teachers, the entire staff, to continue their education credits, graduate level at Assumption College. I was actually joking with Assumption that most of our finance staff, except for me, came or got their master's degree or whatever through Assumption University, so that we already have.
That is awesome.
As we say, while we hire teachers, we also hire in other key areas.
Absolutely.
Like finance and IT and facilities management and so forth, right? So
Right.
it is truly more than just teachers that we're out recruiting for. And so the opportunity for our staff members to continue education at Assumption, and they're providing other opportunities for for fellowships and so forth for our staff members to participate. So it's a very strong partnership, and we're just beginning those conversations. At Assumption College, Holy Cross, and Clark University all want to be strong partners as well with Worcester Public Schools, and so we're continuing those conversations. So I'm expecting some more great news down the road as well. So
awesome. Very
look
exciting.
forward for our students to have opportunities to go to any of our local institutions. And then, and as they're more affordable for the students, I think more students will take advantage of them.
Great. So is there any opportunity to engage with you or Worcester Public Schools that you would like to share with the community? What are some upcoming engagement opportunities, events, programs, initiatives? Please share with the audience.
Thank you. So we often want to, we do want to get out. I want to get out and connect with community and parents, and whether it's our citywide parent advisory group, whether it's WEC and their roundtables or whatever, we want to make ourselves, or my team, fully accessible to the community to hear challenges and barriers and successes that their students or people that they may know are having with the Worcester Public Schools, so we can be better. We want to take that input and improve service delivery to our students, make more opportunities available wherever we can, and we don't want intentional or unintentional barriers for any of our students. And so we need to hear from parents. And so whether it's through any of those parent forums, that's probably the best way to get out and connect with me and the administrative team, so we can hear from you directly.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, Superintendent Allen, for joining us today. We are so glad to have had you and to hear more about who you are, what drives your work, and the successes and challenges to the work in Worcester Public Schools. So later on in our episode, we're going to be engaging in some more conversation about literacy as liberation. So please stay tuned and join us in a few minutes. Thank you.
Unity Radio. Worcester, we've got you.
Support for Unity Radio 97.9 FM is provided by Ruth H. and Warren A. Ellsworth Foundation, established in 1964, focusing on education, social services, and youth agencies, and the Mildred H. McAvoy Foundation, giving primarily to health, educational, cultural, and human service organizations. Unity Radio, Worcester's community connection.
Tune into The Sustaining Life with Susan T. Ulett, and together we will find our way to a healthier, healing lifestyle by listening to empowering stories of overcoming our struggles. Join me, Susan T. Ulett, on The Sustaining Life every Wednesday from 5 to 6 on Unity Radio 97.9 FM. Worcester's Community Connection. See you soon.
Kingdom Voice and Music and Unity Radio 97.9 FM, Worcester, present a Black History Month celebration, Courage to Remember. Join us as we share powerful stories of African royalty, generational heritage, and our living legends through music, theater, and dance. Our Black History Month celebration, Courage to Remember, also highlights Alzheimer's and dementia in the African American community, providing resources, awareness, and hope, alongside cultural food and local vendors showcasing their work. Don't miss our Black History Month celebration, Courage to Remember, February 28th at the Pryor Performing Arts Center in Worcester. For more information, visit kirosha.com/Black History, KIROSHA.com/Black History. Black History Month celebration, Courage to Remember. Celebrate with us.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy Q, host of the Woo 508, and I'm here with
Your girl Liza, Miss Consistency.
And it's your girl Chantel in the building.
Yes, y'all. Go ahead and follow us everywhere. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, the Woo 508. That's THEWOO 508. Woo!
Roll me a bone. Step into the Woo. Now you're in the zone.
You're listening to Unity 97.9 FM, WUTY, Worcester.
Hello, welcome back to Elevate Worcester with Worcester Education Collaborative. I'm your host, Dr. Jennifer Herring. We are here with Sienna Ablorh, the Executive Director of Literacy Volunteers of Central Massachusetts. Welcome, Sienna.
Greater Worcester.
Oh, Greater Worcester. I'm so sorry.
Central Mass counts too.
Well, thank you so much for coming. How are you feeling today?
Good. Honored to be here. Nervous, but I'm in good hands. Like was told me.
It's okay. This is a safe space. We're just, having a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't you tell us more about yourself and what drew you to this work?
Of course. So I was born and raised in Worcester. My family is from two different parts of the world. My mom is from Puerto Rico and my dad is from Ghana. Okay. And I stayed around and I went to Holy Cross for undergrad. And what drew me to this work was actually during my time at Holy Cross. I volunteered at Literacy Volunteers before going to Spain to teach English. So nice. When I returned from Spain, something needed to feel like home again. Yeah. And so Literacy Volunteers of Greater Worcester had a position open to teach. And I said, you know what, I want to be a part of that again. But we'll get into more about, I guess, my current role. But that's how I re-engaged with the organization and how I found them, really.
That is awesome. So you started off as a teacher in the organization. Mm-hmm. And so walk me through your journey. So you taught and now you are the executive director. Yes. So what was that like? And how did you, evolve from teaching role to currently the lead role in the organization?
Yeah, well, within the title of our organization, Literacy Volunteers. So I found Literacy Volunteers and I merely asked to volunteer and observe in their classroom before going to Spain. I had no idea what an ELL classroom looked like, and I wanted to get some experience before going off to Spain. So I volunteered in the classroom on a Zoom class just for a semester. But when I came back, teaching was great. It was great to be more involved in the organization and kind of take control of the classroom, if you will. Yeah. And I had the opportunity to work alongside the previous executive director who exposed me to a lot of grant writing and all of the things going on in Worcester surrounding education and literacy and just timing, really. She retired and said, hey, you should apply.
I love that.
And
That
it
is
was kind of
beautiful.
right timing for me as well with, finishing my master's degree. And so here I am.
Great.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about what Literacy Volunteers of Greater Worcester does? Central Mass Worcester Greater.
We serve the people.
We serve the people. Exactly. So what exactly do you all do? What's your
Yes.
mission? What is your vision for the year?
Yes.
Share with us.
Of course. So Literacy Volunteers of Greater Worcester, we are an adult English education service.
Okay.
We have 10-week ESOL classes, 10-week semesters, I should say. So a fall, summer, and what's after fall, summer, spring. And we also have a one-to-one tutoring service. So just to back out a little bit, Literacy Volunteers of Massachusetts is a bigger umbrella of us, and we're an affiliate of Literacy Volunteers of Massachusetts. And so all the literacy volunteer affiliates have a tutoring service.
Okay.
This one-to-one tutoring service serves basic literacy and also ESOL. We provide that service year-round. Students can come to us and apply for that service, and it's ongoing enrollment, pre and post tests, and they're in the program. And then we rely on volunteer tutors to assist them in their English education journey. So that's kind of the two parts of the program: ongoing tutoring service, and then 10-week ESOL class semesters. And we have dibble and dabble in different things: conversation circles, pronunciation workshops, workforce readiness programs to complement the demand. So right now with economy, etc., people are looking for jobs. So within our curriculum, we have a pretty big focus on job readiness, job training, interviewing, small talk conversations, just giving people the knowledge that they'd expect to see in a corporate world, if you will.
Awesome. So can you talk to us more about what your vision and your priorities are for this year? Just to start, when you stepped into the role, what did you want to most put at the forefront of the work that you all do?
Yeah, for one, I would say exposure, and even something like this of what we're doing now, and connecting with other community partners so that they're aware. It was a bit disheartening when you go out in the community and people are asking, what's Literacy Volunteers of Greater Worcester? But we're all located in the same area. Like, we're all in downtown Worcester, and we don't all know about each other. So for me was exposure. I want more people to know about Literacy Volunteers of Greater Worcester. Of course, as a volunteer, to get more volunteers in the door, but also just supporters and knowledge for people that they interact with on a daily basis. So connecting with people in the Worcester Public School system so that they're aware of when parents are coming to you.
Absolutely.
Where do you send them? Students as well. So exposure for volunteers and just of our services, but also for students. We're finding a lot of course, fear in the community. And so making the students aware of our services, reminding them or letting them know that it is free. It is a free service to you. We don't care where you came from. We don't care where you're going. It is a free service to you. So we're working on translating a lot of our marketing and making it just more accessible, meeting students where they are. We utilize WhatsApp, sending, forward this to your church groups, forward this to whatever groups you're in so that they're aware of our services. So exposure, I would say, is the overall mission.
Awesome. And so talk to us a little bit more about the connection between literacy and access and liberation. So we shared earlier in our episode that this month is Black History Month, and our theme is literacy as liberation. And so can you share with us what is the connection between your work, literacy and liberation in the city of Worcester during these times?
Of course. So many of our adult students have children in the Worcester public school system. So I can kind of tell this literacy as liberation via a story. Your child is maybe not doing well at school and they request a parent-teacher conference. Though there are many translation services available now, to feel comfortable enough to go in and ask all the questions for your child and get the services that your child will need, especially if English isn't your first language. We're encouraging that. We're kind of bridging that gap for these parents to feel comfortable, to have the tools to navigate the Worcester public school system, a school system that many of them probably have never gone through themselves. They might have had their education in another country. So empowering them to be able to help their children grow and succeed, also probably in a new country for them as well, is what I see as liberation, and making sure their child has access to everything that they need, that they're understanding the forms that are being sent home to them, and really tapping into all that's available to them, which really goes back to exposure as well. I want these parents to know that this is available for them so that they can feel empowered to navigate the community for themselves, for their families, and whoever else.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you share a little bit more about your experience in Spain? That's so impressive and fascinating. Can you share, maybe some lessons learned, and what are some things that you learned in Spain that you apply here, that even makes sense for the populations of students and families that we serve here in the city of Worcester?
Yes. So in Spain, I was actually teaching primary school children. So it was a big difference, adults and kids, different lesson planning, different attitudes, different mindsets. But the children, some of them were being, in a sense, forced to learn English. Their parents were maybe in international business and said, you need to learn this language because it's going to help you. Those students sometimes were very hesitant in the classroom and not really wanting to fully participate. Others found it fun. They really liked American songs and followed the artists and knew all these English songs. But the main thing that I learned, that I took here, is people have to want to learn. And that's what I see a lot with adults. I mean, the adults that are coming into our doors want to learn. They want to learn because they want / need a job. They want to learn because they're living in a new place. They want to learn because they met someone in Worcester. They want to learn. And I think that can be taught. I'm not sure. I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. But the motivation of it all, when people come to us, they are ready to go, and we need to meet them where they're at and provide them those services so that they can continue on in their journey.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. I think motivation, I think for me, motivation is not so much about whether or not it can be taught as much as it's about how are we setting the groundwork and the environment for students to have the headspace and the heart space to be motivated to learn. I think that's so, I think it's so important, as you mentioned, there's so much happening, especially the fear factor with what's happening politically. And so how are we creating safe spaces for students to want to learn and grow and increase their learning outcomes? So we're going to take a short break. You are with Dr. Jennifer Herring and Sienna Ablorh, Executive Director of Literacy Volunteers. And when we return, we're going to talk more about what's ahead for your work at Literacy Volunteers. Stay tuned.
Mr. Telephone Man, there's something wrong with my line. What's up, Worcester? I'm Angela Gray, and you're listening to Unity Radio 97.9, Worcester's Community Connection. When I dial my baby's number, I get a click every time.
¿Estás al tanto de los nuevos requisitos para reportar beneficiarios finales?
Un poco. ¿De qué se trata?
Es una nueva iniciativa que ayuda a combatir crímenes como lavado de dinero, fraude y tráfico de drogas. Muchos pequeños negocios como los nuestros tienen que reportar información básica al gobierno federal acerca de las personas que son dueños o beneficiarios finales.
Reportar información de beneficiarios finales de su compañía es rápido, seguro y gratis y ayuda a proteger la seguridad nacional de los Estados Unidos. Aprenda más en fincen.gov/BOI.
At KivaCenters.org, we believe every story matters and healing starts with being heard. The Kiva Centers are here to explore the paths of mental health, recovery, and wholeness with you. Visit KivaCenters.org, a statewide leader in peer-led support and recovery services, from Worcester to Western Mass. More information is available at KIVACenters.org. Kiva is lighting the way forward.
Tune in to Affirmations with Alex, and together we will affirm our way to a healthier mindset by listening to empowering messages. Hi, I'm Alex from Affirmations with Alex. Join me every Monday through Thursday at 10 p.m. on Unity Radio 97.9 FM, Worcester's Community Connection.
You're listening to Unity Radio, Worcester's Community Connection.
And we're back with Elevate Worcester. I'm your host, Dr. Jennifer Herring, Executive Director of Worcester Education Collaborative. We are speaking with Sienna Ablorh, the Executive Director of Literacy Volunteers of Greater Worcester. So, Sienna, can you share with us what have been some successes that you've experienced in the role so far?
Yes. So I started the role back in July 2025. And I can't believe it's been however many months it is, 8 months. Math was not my subject of literacy volunteers. So I would say we see about like a little less than 200 students over a 2-week period for registration.
Okay.
Families are coming in together. We have, their children coming in to translate for them. We have community workers coming in to help their clients register for classes. It is a busy time for us during that 2-week sprint to register students for our ESOL classes.
Yeah.
One small success I would say is simplifying the registration process.
That is huge. That is huge because if they can't register, they can't access the coursework.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I know we have all of these tools in our belts now, but something as simple as we've ditched the pen and paper. Finally, we have ditched the pen and paper. We've gone digital for this registration process. We're able to help students, families quicker. That is one success. We also, I don't know when the last time we had a fundraiser was prior to me, but we did a really cool fundraiser with American Flatbread.
Okay.
Right on Green Street in that area, Kelly Square area.
Okay.
The new pinball place.
Nice.
And that was a great time to bring the community together. Every Tuesday, they have a benefit bake night. And so a different nonprofit is highlighted. You all should consider that. I'll send you the information after.
That would be good. Send it to me. Yeah.
They highlight different nonprofits every Tuesday, benefit bake. So being a part of that and having a really good turnout of community support was amazing. So that was great. Just in my first few months, being able to bring people together in the community and meet people in person and spread our mission far and wide as people are coming in just for their pizza. I'm sure they didn't want to hear from me at that point.
I'm sure they wanted to hear from you too.
But I was able to talk to people, which was great. And like I mentioned earlier about exposure, that was a great way for us to be in front of a lot of people and share our mission.
I love that. And so what are some challenges and barriers to the work that you've experienced so far?
Yeah. So while I mentioned we have all of these students registered, it was slower this time around.
Wow.
And talking to there was actually a newly formed or reignited group, the ESOL network in Worcester. And we talked a lot about, we're seeing less and less new students coming. And that is a byproduct of everything going on in the world, the fear, like we mentioned earlier. So it's navigating that and making students aware that we're still around, we're still here. We don't need any crazy information from you. Just want to know your name and and where you live and what class you want to take. And so I guess making the students feel comfortable has been a sort of barrier, but there's only so much we can do with everything going around. Like if they're scared to leave their house, they're scared to leave their house, and we can't fault them for that. But thankfully, have you heard of the Loose volunteers?
I have actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
They have been a shout out to them and everyone volunteering and working with that service. They have volunteered and have been in our classroom and been in the area of our classroom to make sure our students have been safe. So while it's hard to navigate and there's a lot of fear in the air and potentially losing students, you don't know. We have great community members who are making sure that students can still show up and feel comfortable to show up, and knowing that there are people looking out for them when, there seems to be a discourse that no one is looking out for them, but kind of reinstilling that there are people there for them.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that I, tend to share with folks in my role is that there's a lot of unexpected pivot that needs to happen.
Yes.
Have you experienced the pivot? The
pivot,
soft pivot, the hard pivot.
Ooh, the pivot.
What
the
was
pivot.
happening
Yes.
in the news and in government that caused your pivot, and how did that impact your programming?
Yes. Well, grant writing was fun, way back when. Grant writing was so fun when I was just assisting someone in doing it. And now having the full responsibility and engaging with donors, we've had to have hard conversations, or they've let us know that we're no longer in their funding priorities. So organizations that have funded us for 5+ years, we're now suddenly no longer in their funding priorities as a result of the political climate. And that has been hard. And that is definitely a pivot in the budget,
of course,
a pivot in where I'm looking for funding and how I'm approaching grant writing. We used to use a lot of terms like new arrivals. Sometimes I've seen in previous documents, new Americans, and honestly having to shift the language a bit. We're still serving the same students, but trying to, I don't want to say censor, because we're still saying what we're doing,
right?
But using different language to approach these grants. And we've actually started to look at some of these programs who focus on children and their development, and kind of focusing on the adult literacy rates and how that affects the children's literacy rates. So that's been an interesting pivot to look at, and having conversations with funders and saying, I think you do have a case if you give us enough metrics and statistics about adult education, adult literacy, and how that impacts the child. So it's been different. And usually we've just applied to education, adult education, but now kind of having to tap into adults or our family is definitely a pivot for us.
Thank you so much for sharing. That's really important work that you're doing. Would you say that it is more challenging to make the case for adult literacy in English as a second language versus children's literacy in like Worcester Public Schools outcomes, for example?
I'm going to say yes. That could be biased, but I would say yes. And, unfortunately, a lot of our metrics and outcomes are tied to adult job. So after your classes, how many people got a job? And while that is, the goal for many people and they want to contribute to the workforce, some don't, or some have other limitations or barriers that affect them to work. So having adult education or adult literacy tied directly to workforce metrics, it's difficult because some of these people, where are we tracking the wins of a parent being able to talk to their child's teacher? Where are we tracking the wins for an adult being able to have a full annual exam in English.
Sure.
Though they don't have to, but that could be a win for them. And how are we tracking those successes is difficult, but
yeah, so powerful. Yeah, I think that's one thing that I can, that resonates with me, is how are you quantifying your advocacy or those kind of like softer wins and efforts that you're doing for your population. So I can definitely sympathize with that. So as we near the end of this episode, I would love to open up the floor for you to share with us what are some upcoming gatherings and engagement opportunities that you'd like to share with the community, and how do we keep in touch with you?
Awesome. Well, for one, if you are interested in giving back your time and efforts, we have ongoing volunteer tutor orientation and onboarding. So if you'd like to meet with a student or a small group of students and help them in their English education journey, if you go on our website, lvgw.org, you can find all there is to know about becoming a volunteer tutor. However, if you're hungry, need some caffeine, and need a quick lunch break or somewhere to stop on the weekend with the kids, February break coming up, we have an ongoing fundraiser with Root and Press, which is located on Shrewsbury Street. So if you order online or go in person, you can round up your order and the proceeds will come to us at Literacy Volunteers of Greater Worcester.
That is awesome.
That is for the month of February for now. So get in there while you can. Hint, hint, it may be extended. I'm not sure yet, but get in there, get your caffeine. Root and Press is amazing, amazing food, an amazing place. And the owner, Rich, was so grateful and willing to help the community in this way. So catch us there.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for coming to join us today, Sienna. We're so honored to have met you and to have heard about the great things you're doing at Literacy Volunteers. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in to Elevate Worcester. I'm your host, Dr. Jennifer Herring, Executive Director of Worcester Education Collaborative. Join us again this time next month as we celebrate Women's History Month and all the accomplishments of women in the field. Thank you so much, everyone, and we will see you soon.